So question for you. Have you challenged the traditional beliefs taught by American culture that running harder, faster, and lifting more weights can help you strengthen and help you live a more healthy, stabilized, happy life? I'm willing to bet if this foundational idea that was fed into me as a child, if you haven't challenged it yourself, you probably won't relate to this video. If you have challenged this idea that running's really not for you and lifting weights isn't the way that you're supposed to gain strength, specifically like me dealing with fibromyalgia, lifting weights was just not the right avenue. It's very much aggressive. If you are willing to challenge these beliefs, I want you to explore with me for a few minutes, and we're going to talk about strengthening in a different way, expansion so our bodies have more ability to see the world even in a different way, hold better postures. When our body is held in alignment or with the right pelvic tilt, then we can get enough spinal fluid connecting through our spine all the way up into our brain. This creates a sense of safety. It helps us deal with things a lot better with less stress, and it helps us also be a little bit more flexible in the ways we can deal with things, deal with the stressors in our life. Getting that the spinal fluid from the brain communicating all the way down to the base of the spine so we have control over our body. We do want that connection brain to body. So what healing modality am I specifically talking about? Today I want to introduce you to bowstring yoga and why it's different from like average normal yoga. And I want to give 3 like overarching themes of how it's beneficial, plus 5 different ways that I've seen as I've gone to different practitioners or worked with different people, how I've seen bowstring yoga intertwine those different practitioners' research and help for my body, intertwined with how a daily practice combine what I've learned from different professionals that I've worked with in my own healing process. So the 3 major themes that I've seen highlighted and felt in my own body with bowstring yoga is this expansive nature that it has. So traditional yoga a lot of times is elongating and creates flexibility in the body, whereas bowstring yoga, I would describe it more as let's broaden the body, make a stronger stance so we can withhold what's coming at us, and be strong enough to deflect or to be a witness to the hard things that are coming towards us. So bowstring yoga physically is you bend your knees more, you open those hips wider, shoulders are held lower and fuller, and then the movements create an expansion in the chest, the belly. And it also really helps the base, like where the pelvis sits, so we can withstand and be strong enough. So we want to strengthen the glutes within the stances of bowstring yoga. It also is very helpful to focus on alignment, and if you can have a partner witness your alignment, it's even more beneficial, and you can see results faster. The second like overarching theme where I've seen benefit from bowstring yoga is it helps the body open up, as I described a little bit. Often in our society, we're encouraging collapse and protection and victimhood. So, and our daily activities encourage us into this stance, whether it's working on a computer, sitting at a desk, playing video games, or even sitting on our modern sofa. it's very restricted and also creates this collapse within our bodies. So integrating a practice of bowstring yoga can help open and get out of a victim stance but more of an open heart. Like, I am available to have a heart that's willing to interact with humans. I'm available to have a mind that's willing to be creative at how we problem solve these problems that are happening in our work life or in our family life. I have enough room that I can get the air in through my throat and through in my lungs and get air all the way to my belly. So these are themes that really help open up our bodies so we're functioning at a higher level and feeling better every day and able to withstand the challenges that are coming our way. Okay, now I want to talk about a few professionals that I've worked with and how I've felt this intertwining of their expertise and what they were treating me for, and what I've learned utilizing a bowstring yoga practice. And maybe I can break it down for you in a few different ways. The first thing I want to talk about is chiropractic. So I found a chiropractor that I still use for my family to date, but I found him 10 years ago. And I was pregnant with my second child at the time, and I already had symptoms of fibromyalgia. So I really needed some holistic support and some strength and alignment support so I could, number one, walk through the pregnancy, like be able to walk in my pregnancy because I had restricted hip mobility. So I needed this structural help to get through my pregnancy. So the first time I met him, I sat down on his chair and he said the first thing I ever do is I measure rib expansion here under the breastbone and see how many centimeters that you're expanding in your rib cage, opening up this rib cage, and so you can take in breath. So he's like, the more we have expansion here, the more oxygen that we can get in, and that's like number one step of healing is utilizing the oxygen and the air that we have to help our bodies live in a more optimal state. So he measured me and I'm getting like 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters every time I go of expansion. So 2 or 3 centimeters of expansion every time I went. And he would adjust me so we can get a little bit more expansion, but I would get up to like 7 centimeters. His goal was like 12, but that's tricky with a woman that's already crowding this area in her body with a growing child. So we were happy with 7 centimeters. That's not very much expansion. And every time I go to him still, he works on that expansion of the rib cage. Well, bowstring yoga, in the ways that you hold your body and you perform breathing practices, it's supposed to create that expansion and that openness naturally. Open airways, natural airways. Chiropractic also focuses on alignment as well. I've also visited a cervical spine chiropractor, and I think that when I go to him, get adjusted, often I slip out, but the more I go to him, then practice on strengthening the muscle that is holding my spine into alignment through the practice of strengthening through bowstring yoga, I think that that slip out will be less frequent, and it already has been less frequent. So I'll continue the strengthening poses, getting these muscles stronger in my back to support me, so I can continue to keep the alignment that upper cervical spine chiropractic is affording me with. Secondly, I want to talk about myofascial release and myofascial therapy. This does have a connection with the tight fascial structure and really limited movement that I have in my hips, and it's correlated with the jaw. Some of that correlation is from spinal fluid. Some of it is through the way I'm holding my lower back. And a bowstring yoga teaches you how to have an arch in the lower back, kind of stick the butt out a little bit, and that's a more proper posture to get spinal fluid up and down the brain, up and down the spinal column to the brain stem, to the back of the spine. So we want that fluid river like spinal fluid moving to communicate with the nerves. Really helps with the health of the nervous system if we hold our bodies in a different posture. Myofascial therapy is created exercises to open up the tightness in the jaw that's often created by stress, clenching, what we perceive as stress, and also just that collapsed posture that we're brought into when we're a victim of something, whether it be early childhood trauma or accidents that we have gotten in as an adult, whether it's a car accident. This creates a lot of tension here, but there's a symbiotic relationship with the lower spine and this as well. So as we start to work with both in a symbiotic relationship in a dance, and start to understand the movements of both, it can be beneficial rather than just working with one modality. As we're addressing specific parts of our body and things that happen to our body, as we're receiving information from that correct spinal fluid communicating to the brain and down through the body, we're going to start remembering a little bit more from our early childhood, or maybe the formative years of our teenage years, or maybe the early years of our marriage. We're going to start remembering messages that we need to receive that when people weren't as kind to our body, or when something happened to our body and our body held on to that. Trauma specialists talk about fascia a lot, and they think that the trauma can actually be held in the structure and form of our body, but the connective tissue that's communicating that is fascia. I want to explain fascia just a little bit. If you imagine you're a woman and you're putting on nylons, like tights, on your legs, and you get them on straight, they just really fit the curvature of your leg, and then you go and grab a piece of that nylon and you pull it off your leg. And you can see the fiber stretch all the way up towards your knee. If you're like holding on by your shin or your calf, you can see the fiber stretching up all the way towards your knee and all the way down toward the ankle. You can see how that one pull could affect how that nylon was sitting on your leg. It wasn't as tight or as beautifully caressing your leg. This is an imagery, kind of how fascia works. So fascia's underneath the skin layer of the skin, but above the muscle, and it really helps support our bodies and keep everything together, and then helps with stability as well. And so a lot of the times when we've had conflict in our earlier years in life, then that fascia remembers that and will tighten, and then it doesn't only tighten in one spot, it affects the layers up from that one spot, just like pulling your nylon away from your leg would affect those fibers up towards your knee or towards your ankle. So it has an effect. If hurt happens somewhere, it will have an effect on different fibers of your fascia in different places of your body. If we're talking about in the context of bowstring yoga, it's one of the best ways to gently start to manipulate and change and receive messages from the fascia as we practice bowstring yoga every day. So the reason that it's so beneficial is because bowstring is tiny movements, but really really focused in the areas where tension and tightness will hold. I have seen this intertwine with the therapy, the work that I'm doing. I used to very much just be a person that went to talk therapy and vent my problems and vent my fire. Instead, I look at life as, okay, I can do something about this. Maybe I was innocent when these patterns were created, because most of our poor patterns neurologically and how we hold our bodies are created in the early ages, usually the ages from 0 to 7. But now that I know different, now that I'm aware of my what's hurting me, or where I was trained to not think correctly, or trained to be a victim, or trained that this is just how it is, like this is just how life is, I don't believe that anymore. I question so many different things, and I also have found that when I am creating this practice where I'm the strong one, I feel the strength, I don't have to be a victim of my culture or society, or the patterns that my mother and grandmother put me into. I can break out of these patterns. Bowstring yoga gives me the strength, the alignment, and also gets the spinal fluid moving up and down the spine, so I can utilize my body to move out of these patterns and utilize my brain to think differently, rather than just living in this same stress pattern of I'll vent and keep going in that same circle that's keeping me stuck in a victim stance. The next thing I would like to talk about is how it opened me up to my spiritual nature. When I started doing more body work and also getting more expansion, more oxygen in the body, in my ribs, in my bloodstream, more oxygen in the bloodstream. It really does. It helps with symptoms like depression, and also just feeling like I don't know how I can go on because I'm in so much pain. It just helps move forward. I still move in and out of pain, but I can move out of pain, and then I move back into pain, I move out of pain. But it gives me this promise of hope that as I expand, I think that my symptoms can dissipate and I can move away from them, and that I'm forever grateful for. That spiritual nature that I've searched for years and years, and grew up in a belief system of I can be restored, or the body has healing power, or there's a power beyond or a force beyond me that can help me restore. I've seen these themes as I fill into it, move my body, and learn from others, and expand myself, and also bring this expansion in the world. I've seen that hope that I'm not stuck in this body with fibromyalgia, or body with pain forever, but I can move away from it and back, and still I'm in this vacillating process of it's what I've known, the pain is what I've known, and the expansion is what I hope for. And think how many spiritual themes are in that statement, and it gives like a voice of hope for sure, and an embodied movement of hope. One of the first things that I ever learned as a child in my religious upbringing, it was that our souls were sent to the earth to inhabit a body. And then, as I've observed through culture and through spiritual bypassing, or not wanting to really face what we've done to our bodies, through victimhood, or through natural consequences, or through following culture, or food processes that aren't natural or naturally bioavailable for our bodies, that we have come to this place where like we don't even have a connection with our body. And it's totally seen as like not connected in my culture and society, that like being embodied or feeling like I understand, know, and love and take care and of my body and think it's the greatest superhuman power, literally, it's just lost. That knowledge is lost, and it blows my mind, because a foundational principle of how I was raised was we wanted a body, and that's why we came to Earth. And so this thought and feeling of I love my body and I want my body to heal, and I want it to be open and willing for God's source to work within it, however that may be, that feels true and right and good. And when I move my body in gentle, small, integrative ways and connected ways, then I feel that further embodiment, and which I am forever grateful for. I know there was a time on my healing journey where I really struggled with my body. Just, it hurt so bad. And I've always been a healthy eater, and I've always been an exerciser, or someone who exercised. But I couldn't understand how I could take care of my body, and then my body was failing me. After I had my second child, I really was suffering intensely. I had a underactive thyroid issue, and so I could barely move. I was very, very sluggish, and I had blood sugar roller coaster that couldn't be helped by insulin, because my blood sugar was dropping so low often, and that would have been very dangerous to add insulin into the mix. And I was just slowly moving through the motions of life, taking care of this brand new child and also a 3-year-old. And I couldn't even believe why my body had abandoned myself, and how I got to this state of extreme illness, because I had always had this innate belief of my body is good, and my body is wise, and my body knows how to heal. And as I've worked through that process, I've been working through that for 10 years now. And I have so much compassion and love for my body, and so I do want to inhabit it. But this journey has brought me to so many questions, and especially if you have near-death experiences, you really question, why am I here, and why do I want to live in this body? And it takes radical responsibility and an innate love for self to start digging yourself out of that hole, because you have the power. This is the beauty of what I've seen Bowstring bring to me, is giving me the power back in my muscles, back in my soul, giving me hope that I can expand and breathe better. Even recently, I've had a few experiences where I've gone and gotten x-rays or looked at how I've made progress through the healing journey in my last 10 years, and it really, honestly, visibly hasn't been much progress. And although I've learned $1 million worth of information, I still have a lot of pain. I'm still expanding out of my pain, and I still have a lot of restriction, getting the right oxygen in my body, getting my jaw to move correctly, and having a more free jaw, getting my hips to mobilize correctly. And I just don't have the power to do it all. I do look for spiritual strength and wellness to help me with this power. And I do continue to believe in expansion. So that's kind of my personal challenge, is can I open my jaw up, like holistic, natural dentistry, and those who teach about bowstring believe that there can be jaw expansion here, and that current orthodontics would just say, oh, evolutionary, there's an evolutionary reason why we're collapsed, like why we don't have enough space for our teeth, why our kids don't have enough space for our teeth. But those who teach about bowstring and natural dentistry, they think it's lifestyle. They think more so it's lifestyle that creates this collapse. And so as we've stopped hiking or climbing naturally, like climbing rocks naturally, since we're not in like the hunter-gatherer era of life anymore, those hip expanders and those things that take so much of different muscle groups that we're not utilizing, those things were what helped with the expansion here. And now you see small children in braces all the time to create that expansion. And so what if we could, through lifestyle, create a little bit more space here? What if we could create space here? That's just a food for thought and a question as I introduce bowstring to you. Did have to record this video a second time because I found that I really wasn't organized in my thoughts the first time I was recording. And I also found that there was no way I could loop these thoughts together and bring it full circle. And so if you notice the first of the video, it's like I recorded it at night, so it was getting darker, and right now it's in the morning, so you can see the sun coming through the window. But I really had to ponder on how to present this information because there's so much interlinkings that I've done. I've spent so much time at in different offices working with different people, and it doesn't have to be that way. It's the modern world that teaches us this, that we need all these specialists. I really have needed a cervical spine specialist, like really, really. That has been so beneficial. He's a chiropractor, upper cervical spine specialist. He's a chiropractor. That has been really beneficial and really integral in my healing. And yeah, so I'm just trying to bring this all full circle as I wrap up my thoughts. Have you had what practitioners have you worked through? Have you heard some of these themes about open airways, open expansive body, strength in the body, strengthening muscle tone? Yeah, I'm just curious what your thoughts are as you listen to my own personal journey and story. These are just a few of my little stories that I've intertwined here, and I hope for more expansion. One of the reasons that I'm recording this is so I can start utilizing all my knowledge and put it somewhere, and which I'm totally grateful for. If you tried bowstring, will you please let me know? One resource that I will link below is an Instagram account that has testimonials around bowstring. This is how I actually got into it, and different people's expansive testimonials of the benefit that they received. Me personally, if I do bowstring, I sleep better and I have a day of less pain. One thing I would caution of especially if you have a little bit too much weight or if you are suffering with a neurological disease, I would really start slow. This takes a lot of patience, a lot of love, and I would start on the ground so you're completely supported. Outside ground, even more beneficial because Mother Earth can hold you. I love that vision of her body holding me, just like you would hold a newborn child for grace and love and regulation. So starting a small practice on the ground outside would be beautiful, but starting on your back, just doing slow movements like knees bent side to side with a pelvic tilt, beautiful. It would be the most beautiful way to start this in your body. I personally can't do more than 30 minutes, and I've been in this practice the whole year of 2024. So, and I'm recording it in December of 2024. So, and I've had to work up to that time frame. So it just is a gentle introduction, because it's changing patterns that have been there possibly since you were 1 or 5. In my case, some of them 7, 8. So yeah, be gentle with yourself and so kind. So grateful for you, and thank you so much for watching.